wanted to find something that made money while I slept. That's the dream for everybody, right? I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta make money. It's always been in my head. Dude, I had no plan. I went to junior college forever, so I started partying every night. Fresno State guidance counselor was like, you have a 1.7. Yeah, you're flunked out. So I totally left college, and I had no plan still, dude. This is the crazy thing about life. If you just keep doing, you don't fail unless you quit. And if you're still alive, you haven't quit yet. That's what got me in the door, which eventually led to Kajabi. And I sat there one day and I was like, if I keep moving up, I get paid a little bit more and then a little bit more. And then eventually I make it to that corner office and I'm making a little bit more. But now I'm never going to see my kids. I'm never going to have a life. I'm like, this isn't the path. I want to build the company that the people work for.
Some everyday person, they're working a job. They really want to do their own thing. They're tired of working for a boss. They want freedom of location. They want to create passive income. They don't know what to do. They're overwhelmed. What would you tell them?
The thing I would tell them is, I am Travis Rosser, the co-founder and creator of this app called Kajabi. It's a SaaS that my partner and I started in 2010. And now here, 15 years later, that app is now worth $2 billion. And it's helped customers make over $10 billion selling online courses, coaching programs, masterminds, anything around knowledge and like content. People have built a site on Kajabi. You know, I started out as an entrepreneur as a kid selling oranges from my farm to mowing people's lawns to eventually getting into software and building a unicorn. It's like Steve Jobs says, it's like you want to be hungry and foolish. And that was me. I was hungry and foolish. I didn't know what I was doing. I just had hustle and I loved business. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell, but it's a much bigger story. So
For the record, Travis and I hopped on an ad hoc call and decided to start recording it. But what I'm trying to do here is talk to people who are currently working in jobs that have good jobs and they're just craving freedom and they don't know what to do. And I think Travis is the perfect guy to talk to because he was that guy that didn't really know what to do and was trying a bunch of stuff and didn't just find something, but actually started a unicorn. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about the process that you went through to find your thing?
you know, I grew up here in California in the middle of farmland. Most people don't realize, but California has this thing called the San Joaquin Valley, and it's the richest farmland pretty much in the world. Like a lot of the food in America and Asia and all over the world comes from the San Joaquin Valley. So I grew up in the middle of nowhere. And I came down to Southern Cal for college and got settled here. And you know, I did the normal thing. I went to college. You know, you got to go to college, you got to get a good job. I did all those things, right? And then I come here to Southern Cal and I get a great job making good money. But then it's like, shit, how am I going to afford a house? How am I going to, you know, actually live my life? And I really started I love how you call it moonlighting because that's what it was back then. You know, we're talking a long time ago. We're talking like in the early 2000s is when I started this journey. And I was always moonlighting. Now it's the side hustle. But, you know, I had my job, sat in a cubicle, started out as a designer back then. I just designed websites. Then I learned how to design software. Then I learned about SaaS eventually, and we'll get to that. But that's kind of my, you know, the thing I'm most proud of is building Kajabi was incredible. But there's so many steps before that of just having side hustles. Like, how can I make extra money? How can I make more than my paycheck? Back then, a friend of mine, he came to my office one day, and I'm in this cubicle. And if you've ever worked in corporate America and you have talent and you're good, you can do your job in like an hour or two, and the rest of the day is waiting for the next meeting. You're doing nothing. My friend comes by and he's like, "What do you do here? What do you even do?" And I explained to him, he's like, "You should start a side business or something." And I was like, "What?" And right around that time, I found audible.com, and Audible's, you know, audiobooks. And back then, man, this is probably 2003. Audible was, I don't know, 29 bucks a month, and it was 5 books a month. And that first year I read 60 books, like 5 books every single month. And a lot of people, entrepreneurs, have read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And when I read that book, dude, it was like my whole world came to life because
Yeah.
where I grew up in my small town, my dad was a teacher, a football coach, and he had a small farm. So my dad was a hardworking guy, but he was a true, you know, poor dad.
Yeah.
And then there was farmers in our town that were very successful. And as I got older, I would always get jobs either on their farms or in their packing facilities. I met a guy named George Jackson, and he kind of became my rich dad. He had moved there from Tennessee, bought some farmland, kept growing. Then he built a packing facility. Then he built the shipping facility, distribution. He just kept growing and growing and growing. And he was just this humble guy that understood business and finding product and finding opportunities. And he just planted all these seeds in my mind. So when I read that book, it's like all these ideas started coming to life, like there's more than trading time for money. The other book he wrote was Cash Flow Quadrant, I think it's called. And it talks about the four different quadrants. It's like you're an employee, then you might be self-employed, then you might become a business owner, and then the ultimate is to be an investor. And the whole point is don't trade time for money. And so I was on a journey to figure that out. What does that mean? And so I tried everything on the side. I mean, everything you can think of from, like I was telling you earlier, like I would build these little websites and I'd brand them, make them look cool. There's this thing called PHP scripts, and you could download a script. You could put it in something like Dreamweaver back then, which was a code editor. And then you could change the brand, you could change the pricing, you could change which PayPal it was connected to. And I built stuff like a free credit report system. And then I would sell like freecreditclub.com. So it would come with the domain. I'd spend maybe 1 or 2 hours and then go on eBay and sell it for 500
Oh,
to a
wow, you're
thousand
doing
bucks.
real like quick website flipping, pulling templates, plugging them in, getting the website, selling it as a working thing just by
Exa-
having one very simple, relatively to some people, piece of knowledge for how to actually create the website out of the PHP script.
Yeah, it was just something super basic. You can do that now with vibe coding, or you can build it much faster. But back then, building something, branding it, buying a good domain, not everybody was doing that. And so that was one thing I did on the side. I did so much. I even did like for my kid's birthday one time, for example, you would get these catalogs for like party favors for like a kid's birthday. And I remember my son was into Thomas the Train, like that old show, people
Yeah,
might
I
not even
actually
know
know
that.
an old VC that got them funded. He was getting pitched by the guy who made Thomas the Tank Engine, and he helped him create it into a marketable TV show and get funded. So yeah, I'm familiar.
No way.
Yeah, Richard
And
Fox.
nice. And you're right. It is called Thomas the Tank Engine, but the kids, they don't know that. But it was probably my older son's birthday. I remember I got like little train hats, I got little whistles, I got little bandanas, but you could only buy them in bulk if you wanted to get good deals. So I'd get like 30 or 20 or 30 of these, and he might only have 10 friends. So then I took them and I was like, what if I package these? And again, eBay was the thing back then in the early 2000s. That was the marketplace to quickly sell. So I'd
You were an
package these
original
little,
ecom guy.
yeah, I
You were a
was.
website flipper, an ecom guy. You did it all, man.
I just leverage tech. I'm from that generation where we grew up with technology. Like when I was in high school, there was no tech, and then as I got into college, internet was happening in the 90s, and I got to live through those evolutions. So I put them all together in these little packs and sold them for a premium compared to buying them individually. So someone's like, "Yeah, I'm having a birthday for 10 kids," and I'd send the packs already ready to go. Yeah, I was almost doing drop shipping before that was the thing.
Yeah, basically that's what I thought. I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
And then I kept thinking about the thing, trading time for money. And no matter what I was building, I was still doing that. I still had to package them and sell them. I still had to build a website and sell it. I got into services for a while. Like I found this offshore company that would do SEO for me. And then I would rebrand it and sell it to a local manufacturing business here in Orange County. I just always thought of a way to brand it, package it, find someone who wanted it, and go sell it and produce it.
So you're kind of doing labor arbitrage where someone wanted SEO and then you would
Totally.
find someone who would do it for cheaper and just sell it for more.
Yeah,
Those are all like the most like website flipping, e-commerce, drop shipping, labor arbitrage. These are still very
totally.
prominent ways for people to make money today. And you were just kind of figuring it out in the very
Totally.
early days when
Trial and
technology
error.
was brand new.
Yeah, all these frameworks are normal. They've been doing this for hundreds of years in business. I didn't invent anything. I
I
just
mean, you
experimented.
creatively leverage technology as an early mover in these things, which is very unique. You didn't follow, yes, the business model has existed. I mean, you hire labor, you do work, and then you charge more for it. That's investment
Yeah,
banking, that's consulting, that's anything.
totally.
Doing it with technology is that was a new concept. And you did a really interesting way of doing that.
It just kept evolving where I wanted to find something that made money while I slept. You know what I mean? Like that's the dream for everybody, right? And the thing about me is when I was a kid on that farm, all growing up, I stuttered really bad. Dude, I stuttered until I was 18, 19 years old. Then it started going away. And it's crazy because now my wife and I study a lot of Tony Robbins, a lot of spiritual stuff. I had no idea that I manifested myself to not stutter one day. Because as a kid, I would imagine not stuttering. I would imagine not, because in my head, I didn't stutter. It was only when I tried to say something where I would get stuck and just, it was embarrassing. But because I stuttered, I was very quiet as a kid. I observed a lot. And so I would sit and observe things. I would observe what I learned on the farm. I would observe what I saw in my small town. And also, it's so funny. My parents were very middle class. Both parents were teachers. My dad was a football coach and a farmer, but still they were very middle class. But in my mind, I thought they were broke because they had a broke, mindset, you know? So I was always afraid. I was like, I got to make money. I got to do something. I got to make money. That has always been in my head, you know? And so I would just see opportunities even as a kid from like mowing people's lawns to picking the oranges off of our orange trees that we just would fall to the ground because they were just decorations in our yard. My dad never did anything with them. And back then, dude, I found a way to get access to farmers markets. I use the yellow pages, which my 18-year-old son doesn't even know what the yellow pages are. It's like, the yellow pages was like a book. And that was like how you found all businesses. There was no internet, no searching. I found like a farmer's market. I then found packaging. Like I found the nice little bags that had said oranges on the front and I packaged them. And then I went to farmers markets and I would sell fruit that used to fall on the ground and was worthless. In fact, one of my best little marketing hacks was I went to the farmer's market over in San Luis Obispo, which is kind of close to where I grew up. And on the way there, we stopped at this gas station and they had this air freshener that was made out of orange pills. That's all it was made out of. And I sprayed it and I was like, oh my God, that smells better than these oranges. So I got it. We go to the farmer's market. I kind of spray it around the area, just kind of secretly,
That's
and
genius.
and people would walk by it and they would go, these are the best smelling oranges I've ever seen in my life.
That's so clever. I'm
We
telling you,
totally
when I'm
sold
walking down
out.
the street in my town, there's a Kilwins, and the Kilwins smells so good that it
Yeah.
attracts people. It is marketing, the scent.
Totally. So I guess I was always a marketer. I was a brander.
Yeah.
I still love brands. I love design. That's why I loved when I got into software. Like I love user interface design. I love how
Mm,
things look and how they interact. And I've just always thought about why do we buy? Why do we buy
mm,
things? Why do we like things? Why can you go into the store and the same detergent is the same ingredients, but it's like eight different prices based on the brand, or the placement on the shelf? Like I just always studied that. And then I eventually majored in marketing. So I got to really dig even deeper. And that journey is a whole nother story too, because I had no plan, dude. I had no plan. I went to junior college forever. And in fact, I was in junior college for so long, 3 years, that my guidance counselor was like, you have an AA degree now. You could just transfer. I'm like, really? And so back then I went to Fresno State, had no plan. All my friends joined a fraternity, so I joined a fraternity. And during this time, I was starting to not stutter. And I noticed, which this is a terrible habit, was when I drank, I didn't stutter. So I started partying every night, like every night I could. And back then they had a deal where it was a quarter for a beer, dude. You paid $5 to get in, quarter beer. They had to shut it down because people got too drunk. I did that every night. And before you know it, same thing, like a Fresno State guidance counselor was like, you have a 1.7. Yeah, you're flunked out. You cannot register next semester. So I totally left college at like probably 23 by then.
you
So
actually flunked out of college.
complete, yeah, flunked out. I was done. And I had no plan still, dude. This is the crazy thing about
Yeah.
life. If you just keep doing, you don't fail unless you quit. And if you're still
Yeah.
alive, you haven't quit yet.
Yeah.
You're still in the game. In my little small town, I started working at like a church, like painting the church. And I
Mm.
got to know the pastor that was from there. And he had just left a place called Hume Lake, which was this camp up in the mountains there. And he's like, you should go work there. I'm like, okay. And I'd been to Hume Lake a lot as a kid. So I went there. It's so funny. If you just keep following what seems interesting, like the next step, you have a good attitude. So I go to Hume Lake. I start meeting all these people from this college down here. in Southern California. They're like, you should apply there. I'm like, okay. And so I applied to this small college called Azusa Pacific, a little tiny school, Christian school. And that's where I came back. Like I literally showed up and I had a 1.7. I had applied. I hand delivered my application. I talked to the counselor. I was like, listen, I'll do anything. And they're like, here's the deal. You have to get a 3.0 this semester. If you do that, you get to stay. And so they accepted me. I had nowhere to live. I literally left thinking I'd sleep in my car. And they randomly put me with this weird roommate who was not my roommate for very long. But I was in the door, I was in the door again. And then as I got to Azusa, I joined the School of Business. I got into marketing. I met this professor and she saw like the light inside of me. She was like, you are creative. You see everything. You see it. And then I was like, really? And I just kept going. And before you knew it, after 8 years of college, I was done. And I had a marketing degree and I'd learned more about business. My confidence was up. Back then, I got married to my ex-wife, so I stayed here in Southern California, just started the professional grind. And back then, too, I was not a designer. I was a guy with a marketing degree who technically flunked out at one point. I was a good marketing student, which was one good thing. And so my first marketing job, I freaking hated it. It was so boring. But I saw the guy over in the corner that was doing all the design for our packaging for the manufacturing company I worked for. And I was like, how do you do that? And I would just ask him questions and I would slowly learn. And pretty soon I quit because I hated it. And I got a design job for like nothing. I was making like barely minimum wage. And that's the other thing too, is like you can't always focus on the highest paying job. Sometimes you're going to do something for the skill set, for the knowledge, for the opportunity. And so I finally got a job. It's crazy at a Yellow Page advertising agency. We did ads for Yellow Pages and it was so boring. And I was getting paid again, nothing. I think I might have made 16 bucks an hour, which is around 30 grand a year with a college degree. It was not like my son works at Trader Joe's and makes over 20 bucks an hour now doing, a retail job. But when I was at this job, my boss knew the internet really well. Like he was building back then, like advertising banners. Like you couldn't do much as a designer. And I realized I'm just going to learn from this guy. And I did. I just kept learning and learning. And once I left there, I got a job in technology here in Irvine, California, and was making 90 grand. And back then that was a ton of money. And that's what got me in the door, which eventually led to Kajabi and just established me in technology, and it was all trial and error and a ton of mistakes to that
Yeah.
point.
I mean,
But
there's a ton of lessons in there. And I think one thing that's helpful is just having someone who believes in you can be really helpful, whether that's a teacher or a mentor, which I know that you do a lot of mentoring.
yeah,
That probably gives a lot of people a ton of confidence they never would have had if you didn't do that for them. Another thing is that you don't need a GPA to do things. And
no,
if you look up the average GPA of a millionaire, at least this is what Google says, it's 2.9. And there's a
yeah,
lot of people who are not just millionaires, but rather billionaires who either drop out of college, maybe they were kicked out, or oftentimes they have an idea worth pursuing and they drop out to pursue it because their priorities are in line. My GPA was actually 2.9. And
yeah,
in college, I did the same thing where I was just partying all the time my first early years. And then another thing that's a really great lesson that I learned was sometimes you have to make your own path. You could not go the traditional path. You actually uh, excluded yourself from the traditional path by having this 1.7 GPA. So you had to force yourself to find a new and another way. And a lot of people would have
it's
given
true.
up and just saying, well, I can't get back into college because I flunked out.
Yeah,
You went in with determination and negotiated a specific scenario that worked for you.
yeah,
That's what I had to do. I had like a 2.9 GPA. So I learned what venture capital was. I was like, ooh, I want to do that. And I was like, oh, well, to do that, you have to do really good in high school. You have to go to a really good college. You have to do really good in a really good college. You have to get an investment banking internship. You have to get invited back to the investment banking internship. And then you have to work there for a couple of years, become an associate. And then maybe, just maybe, you could apply for a job at a VC firm and then work your
yeah,
way up to becoming someone who actually make the decisions. I was like, well, I already screwed all that up. So I had to found a private equity venture capital club. And I just told everyone that I recruited, go reach out to anyone within a 50-mile radius, say you're a co-founder of the club, and invite them to speak. And then we'd invite them to speak, and then we'd take them out to dinner afterwards. And at UCF, which is a good school, don't get me wrong, but it's no Ivy League and they don't really recruit high finance jobs. Everyone in that club got either a job or internship in private equity, venture capital, or investment banking, which was unheard of, which was the
Yeah.
goal. And so there's always a path for people who are creative, even if the traditional path is not open to you. And I think that you're kind of living proof of that.
When you have a vision and determination, you will eventually get there. You may have
Yeah.
to pivot. And I think the important thing is we all think there's certain doors you have to go through to get there.
Mhm.
Man, sometimes there's a window that's open or like a back
That's
slider
a
that
great way to
someone
say
left
it.
open. And I think it's important, like really think what you want and then take the small opportunities as they happen because huge success is based on micro decisions. Like
Yeah.
the
Well, that was
small,
another really good point that you made is that you worked a job that did not pay a lot because you wanted to learn. And when I wanted to get into venture capital, I took an unpaid internship. And I
totally.
went in every day and I was happy to go in. And I was completely broke at the time, by the way. I didn't know how the hell to like pay for anything. I didn't know how to make money at the time.
Yeah.
I was actually, to make money, I became a janitor because the only place that I could walk to that would give me a job because I couldn't afford a car was a place that was like, yeah, you can sweep the floors. And another really great parallel that I had that you had as well was I got into Audible. I was like, this is an opportunity. I do not have to interface with anyone. I'm left alone all day. And I
Yep.
just listened to audiobooks. I listened to like Rich Dad Poor Dad, of course, How to
Yep.
Win Friends and Influence People. I listened to Think and Grow Rich.
Think
All
and
of
Grow
those,
Rich. Yes.
yeah, all of those books are kind of the core for personal development. I just got into those. And that's why I started the club. That's why I was determined to grow. And it really put me on a trajectory that completely changed my life by
Yep.
listening to those books and by having a bad GPA and having no money and just being determined to say, this is not the life that I'm going to have.
There's like no excuse. There's no
Yeah.
excuse, really. You have
Especially today.
limitations. That may be a good thing because then it's forcing you to be really focused. Like I
Yeah.
always tell people, read this audiobook. I don't have time. Well, do you drive in your car?
Yeah.
Do you
It's called net
mountain
time, no
bike?
extra time.
Yeah.
NET, net time.
Yeah. Do you go for a walk? Do you like that's the thing is doing design work is very creative. So I could do
Yeah.
it and I could listen to anything. As
Yeah.
I learned how to program a little bit, and back then a big thing was Flash, which doesn't even exist anymore. It was this
Yeah.
interactive coding thing where you could build these beautiful things. I couldn't listen to a book if I was doing that, but
Yeah.
all the other times I listened to books, and I think I told you this on one of our calls too. That saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's
Yeah.
both, dude. Get
Yeah.
good at a lot of things and meet a lot of people. Like we're here because you posted on TikTok an honest, real post. And then my wife shows it to me. I was like, oh, I'll talk to that guy. That guy's cool. And I think what you're doing is huge because you're building in public, you're being vulnerable, and that's not always easy. It's not always easy to show up. We live in such a Instagram filtered world now, an
Mm,
AI world where I think authenticity is going to be the new currency.
mm,
People that are real and genuine and smart, because you can be real and genuine and be a moron, but you need to also work on that if you think you're a moron, because I'm always trying to grow. Like I'm always looking at my weaknesses and thinking, can I improve it? Is there a pivot I could make? Is there a change I should be making? Because you
mm,
said something interesting too, and I don't remember it. I think it was when you're talking about finance and kind of growing up, like growing through that. When I finally got a good job in tech, and I'm now in the cubicle world, I sat there one day and I was like, if I keep moving up, I get paid a little bit more and then a little bit more. And then eventually I make it to that corner office and I'm making a little bit more. But no, I'm never going to see my kids. I'm never going to have a life. I'm like, this isn't the path. This is not the
right.
path for me. I want to build the company that the people work for. And,
Right.
that took this whole story we're talking about. I finished college in 1998 and then I launched Kajabi in 2010. So that's over a decade of hustling and having jobs. And I tried consulting a couple times where I had no job and I just did the SEO stuff. I did design stuff. It wasn't the thing. It wasn't something that was going to scale. I just hadn't seen that yet. I had seen a lot of great ideas and great hustles that might make $1,000 here, $2,000 there, sometimes 10,000 if I did really well. And that was amazing, but I hadn't figured out that thing. There's an author that said the thing the more people you can help, the richer you're going to get.
Yeah.
And tech has allowed us to do that at a huge scale. I mean, come on. Two guys, a guy that grew up on a farm stuttering, created a unicorn that's worth $2 billion.
Yeah.
And that's because of hard work, luck, and being vulnerable and going out there. Because, to build Kajabi, I didn't have any connections. We didn't know anybody in the space. I
Mhm.
used Twitter back then to connect with our first customers. And it's only because I was super bold, just like yourself. Like, it's funny because we live here in Orange County, so we see famous people sometimes. And if I see someone famous, especially like an athlete, like if it's a hockey player, I'll go talk to them. But if I see someone famous my wife knows, I'm like, let's go talk to him. Let's just say hi. No, 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 no. I'm like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Compliment
Yeah.
them. Don't be a weird fanboy. Just like
Yeah. Yeah.
talk to them. So I think meeting people is huge. If you're interested in something, that's something Kajabi showed me is there's topics on everything. As we're in the middle of the content economy,
Mhm.
it's mature now, but 15 years ago it wasn't. We didn't know that there was niches like there are, like little ideas that have become huge. It's a long journey. The other thing too that happened to me was the whole internet marketing thing. In the Kajabi world, like content creators and stuff, we used to call it digital marketing or internet marketing. Wasn't really defined. I first learned about it because I thought it was a scam. Way back in the early 2000s, I'd get these spam emails, make money selling on eBay, make money sending emails. Like, this is such a scam. And then there was this guy that emailed me all the time, and then he died in a car racing accident. So there was an article in our Orange County paper, and I read it, and I was like, holy shit, this guy was real. Because they listed where he lived. He did own a house, like a mansion in La Jolla in San Diego. And I was like, holy shit. And so I went to one of their conferences after he passed. His partner took over. And that's when my mind learned about digital marketing and like selling content. In fact, like back then it was like DVDs like this. This is Frank Kern's Mass Control. He sold it for $2,000. It was a box of like 20 DVDs like this. And he would teach you how to copyright, how to do a landing page, all this stuff. But when I was at this conference in Newport, I met people that were selling online content. I never thought about this. Like way back then, we would see commercials on TV, like how to use Microsoft Excel or like how to, it was there, they were cheesy.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, I'll ship you these DVDs. And I was like, whatever, that's dumb. I had no idea we'd be in such a knowledge age like we are now. But the people I met, like the one guy was teaching how to play Madden football, and he was making 70 grand a month, dude. It's amazing. And then I met another guy named Jermaine Griggs, and he was teaching, it was called hearandplay.com, still exists. He's still killing it. Back then he was 19 and he was making a couple 100,000 a year teaching how to play piano. And his
Wow.
story is incredible too. Like Jermaine learned how to play the piano because he grew up in the hood in Long Beach, like where Snoop Dogg, Warren G, all these guys are from.
Mhm.
Like Jermaine grew up in that neighborhood, and his grandma and his mom's like, you come home every day after school. And his mom goes on The Price is Right. No, his grandma, and she wins a piano. And so he's a little kid, and she teaches him how to play by ear. He cannot read music, but he can play anything. And so somewhere he found the same marketer at the conference I was at, and he had learned how to build a landing page, sell DVDs. I was just blown away by this world. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
The product is like shipped, like, which is still work. Like I was always trying to eliminate work. I was like,
Yeah.
that's cool, but then I gotta build a landing page, then I gotta ship it. And then eventually the Kajabi idea came, what if it was all online? Like, what if the product was virtual? It didn't really exist. You built it, you
Yeah.
made it. And that's when the unicorn started appearing, where I was like, holy shit. And we didn't know that. We thought it was just a good idea. We didn't
Mhm.
know it would be so big until you look back. Growing up as a kid that worked on farms, that you do projects where you might be chopping weeds down a row of trees, and some of these rows of trees would be a quarter mile long. So you'd be
Mhm.
working forever down this long row of like, in like a big, huge orchard. And sometimes you wouldn't realize how long you worked until you look back and go, holy shit, I got a lot of work done. And that's how
Yeah.
business success is. You don't know until you look back. how huge the
Yeah.
opportunity is. In fact, that might be the problem with today is everybody's focused on the end too much. I didn't focus on $1 billion company. We didn't think about that at all. We wanted to be successful. We wanted to make a lot of money, but we weren't like, let's build $1 billion unicorn. And I think now everybody says that's how I should start, but that's not how you should start.
Yeah, I think there's an irony of studying entrepreneurship as a college major in a way.
Yeah.
Their entire life's purpose is to be an entrepreneur, but in the sense that they're like, what's my $1 billion idea? Their goal is to raise as much money as possible. Their goal
Yeah.
is to, and that's not how real business happens. I mean, it is
No.
sometimes, don't get me wrong, it's happened, but
Yeah.
usually it's a series of unpredictable events that
Hmm.
wind together in such a way that someone sees an opportunity and then seizes an opportunity. It's
Hmm.
not people looking to create something from scratch. It's someone who lived a series of events that revealed something.
Yeah, and it's just about as you're going through that, whatever seems interesting to you or it bugs you really like a problem, try to fix it. Try to fix the problem, try to
Yeah.
lean into the passion. Someone told us once as we were building, lean into the good. Anything that's working, do more of that, which is obvious, right? But not when you're building. You start getting like your own bias on how it should be. It should be like this, but wait, people are
Mhm.
paying us money for that. Well, maybe we should pivot more to that.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that. It's almost like we have too much information now, too much knowledge,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing. But the Steve Jobs thing, you got to be hungry and foolish. You have to be
Yeah.
that. You don't make decisions based on fear. You make decisions based on this is exciting or that would be fun or someone would pay for that.
And I mean, this is advice you're giving to me in real time. I
Mhm.
haven't built the thing in a way that has resonated with the market yet. I'm in the weeds, I'm in the trenches right now, trying to get to market as quickly as possible to figure out is this thing that is in my head that I believe to be true based off my past experiences and research and studying the customer, what they
Yeah.
actually want. And your advice to me is don't spend too much and fail fast, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You want to get it in front of them as quick as you can because it might be a good idea to you, but you haven't figured out what makes it a good idea to them? And ideas, they can be fragile. You have to protect them for a while. You'll notice that like sometimes friends and family have no idea what you're building. Like they're like, what are you talking about? Like I think it was Rich Dad Poor Dad talked about the bucket of crabs analogy, where it's like the guy's fishing and he has a bucket and he keeps catching crabs and he can throw them in a bucket. And as long as he has two crabs, they will never get out because crabs
They keep pulling the other
instinctively
one
pull
down.
the other one down. And
Yeah.
friends and family will do that to you. And they don't always mean harm. They may actually be trying to protect you. So if you have a great idea, hold it in your mind for a while. Like I'm a pretty spiritual person, so I try to talk to the other side, my
Mhm.
higher self, God, like, okay, is this a good idea? And then you try to validate.
ChatGPT. No, it'll just tell you your idea is good no matter what.
It always agrees with you. You got to be
Yeah,
very
it always
careful.
agrees.
Yes. ChatGPT is very valuable, but all right, I'm going to create a business that sells dog shit that people are going to eat because it's nutritious, and it will agree with you with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's why people say, who needs a co-founder? You have ChatGPT. It's not a good co-founder. It never disagrees with you. And you could even like prompt it to say, look, I want you to disagree if you disagree. And they'll be like, okay, here's why I would disagree. And it's like, all right, I don't know what's honest with you. And you
yeah.
can get like some pretty good answers out of it, but you really do have to hold yourself accountable. And I'm doing this thing with no co-founder, and it's just an idea from my head. And I've talked to a lot of people about it in terms
Mhm.
of both customers and uh, you know, business people. And in theory, seems like a good idea. I think you would agree that in theory, it's a good idea.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. I do
No,
appreciate that. A multi-billion dollar unicorn
no,
starter.
I think you have a very good idea. The trick is packaging it so that someone really wants it, or there's
Yeah.
something unique about it that's like, oh wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you know the story of how we founded Kajabi, but I used Twitter to connect with these people where I
Mm,
saw because I'm in Orange County, which is about an hour and a half from San Diego. And at that time in like 2008, 9, 10, a lot of marketers moved to La Jolla in San Diego. And I'm like, that's like so close to us. And so I stalked some of them on Twitter. And because I could design, I would reach out to them if they said anything about brand or updating the WordPress site. I'm like, hey, let's get on a call. Let me help you. And I would do it for free. And the way I did it too is like, I think I saw this in a movie one time. Is like, if you want to meet the top dog, like whoever it is, you can't always do that, but you might be able to meet one of their friends, you know? And so at the time, there was a marketer I wanted to meet. And then there was another marketer who was not as successful. You know, this one guy was kind of an A player. This guy was more BC. Nothing against him. He just was a smaller marketer. And I reached out to him and became friends with him. And it's kind of crazy because it's not like I had this ulterior motive. That's just how it happened to go. And back then, my founder and I, with this other guy named Jason Moffat, we built this game called Find That Tweet. And it was a Twitter scavenger hunt. And it was because this guy Moffat had posted like, "Hey, I hid $100 under this overpass in San Diego. See if you can find it." And he just kept, a lot of marketers do that now, but back then nobody had even heard of that. Like, and he was doing that. And so I was like, what if we built a game that did this? And he's like, yeah. And so we went down to San Diego. I met him, mocked it up, and then we built the game. And then it worked. We made a couple $100. We couldn't quite monetize it. But because I had that trust with him, by the time I met this other marketer, this guy's name was Andy Jenkins, and he was selling how to do SEO, making millions of dollars selling DVDs on SEO. This guy was asking, he had a problem with his WordPress site. And I reached out and said, "Hey, I'm friends with Jason Moffat." He's like, "Oh, I love Jason. Yeah, let's get on a call." Because I built that trust, the door was wide open for me. And then I
Mhm.
delivered
Perfect example
value.
of what you know and who you know, which is you were able to meet someone because of the talents that you had. And
Yep.
then that just opened doors to meeting other people. And then where did it lead?
Yes. And it's like, I didn't have an ulterior motive. I didn't really even have the Kajabi idea fully yet. I was just like, I want to help this guy. I want to get in this business because when I went to that conference and I met Jermaine and all these marketers, I had the bug. I was like, I need to figure this out. This is the future. This is where anybody can become an entrepreneur. And then what I learned after building Kajabi is anybody can become a millionaire. Because I get texts to this day. I made it. I'm a millionaire now because of Kajabi. Thank you. And how cool is that? Like that is
That's
like the
incredible.
coolest feeling. I love that I made money and had success. It's amazing, but there's something even more powerful if the thing you created liberated other people.
Yeah.
That's like a movement. And
I mean, it's like what you said about helping as many people as you can at scale. The more people you help, the more benefit you get.
yes, yes. And when you can make money while you're sleeping, which is what SaaS does, which I didn't know what that was back then. We didn't know what software as a service was. There was
Yeah.
no Shopify yet, or, you know, all of them. There's so many of them now. The
Yeah.
Kajabi has at least 10 good competitors now, at least
Hmm.
20 if you don't count good competitors, you know?
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that came from learning. I would listen to so many things. And then back around 2007, there was a podcast, and podcasts were new back then. And it was called the Web 2.0 show because, you know, they used to always label how the internet was. And Web 2 was like users posting content. That was new, that it was interactive, right? And these guys were talking about framework programming. And I'm not a programmer, but to my co-founder, who was my best friend at the time, he was like, "This is incredible. We can build something so fast now." And that's the thing about no excuses. Back then, before that, it was hard to code. You had to have a team, you had to have servers, you had to pay Microsoft a huge license to use their .NET servers. It was hard. And then framework programming came in and you could build anything, you know, and now you can vibe code. It's not quite there, but it's getting there to where anybody can build anything.
There really is no excuse anymore. There's so much opportunity both in the information space and in the technology space and tech-enabled service as well.
Yeah.
That and the thing is, the big problem for most people is because there's so much opportunity, it causes overwhelm and analysis paralysis. And so
Totally.
you get on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube and you watch a million videos about how to become a millionaire, and then you never do anything. Well,
No.
why? And I think this is where you've been working on a framework that's really interesting with You Inc. about finding the business inside you.
Hmm.
And this is also, I think, a path that you and I both went down, which is just try stuff that you think you want to do. Realize that the thing that you thought you were going to love turns out to be the thing that you hate doing. And then just
Yeah,
pivot upward and keep
totally.
moving forward until you figure out what the thing actually is, not what you think it is.
That's right. And me like looking to like a higher self, I always say, what wants to be built through me? You know, I have hands, I have a brain. What should I build? You know, and I think it's important for you to like think about do people want this? Like that's the other thing. It's not just should you build it? And yeah, I want to build $1 billion company. That's cool. And I have a in my mind, I can kind of check the list if that's possible, but I don't always build for that reason. It's more about I know I can build this thing and people will love it, and that can be hard. I mean, I think to turn off analysis paralysis is you got to take breaks. You got to go for walks. Like I mountain bike. So like this morning I was mountain biking because I was stuck on a problem. And while I was mountain biking, it became clear. The quieter I got, the more I moved my body, the more I just wasn't thinking. All of a sudden in the quiet, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
that's what I should be working on. You need to do
You know,
more
I
of
actually
that.
just over the weekend posted on TikTok about this. And I was like, it's Sunday. I'm not working. There's actually a book called Peak Performance.
I've heard of
If
it.
yeah, and the formula for peak performance is stress plus rest equals success. And one of the most
Totally.
famous examples he gives is the guy that ran the 4 minute mile for the first time. He
Right.
took off like 2 weeks or something like that. Don't quote me on exactly how long, but basically he trained and trained and trained and stressed himself so incredibly hard. And he's never run a 4 minute mile in his life. And then leading up to the days that he was going to run the 4 minute mile, he just took time off and recovered.
Yeah.
And then he broke the record. And then it goes into how, a lot of your best, most creative thoughts come to you in the shower or on a
Yeah.
walk. And
Yeah.
it's true. If your mind is programmed through this, you get lost in the weeds on the day to day, the minutia. But then when you take a
Totally.
step back and you can be yourself and you're not in that stressed weeds state, that's when creativity just naturally flows, even when you're not trying. And so I truly believe that as an entrepreneur, you should be prepared to work as much as it takes and as hard as you can. But at the
Yeah.
same time, don't force yourself to work all the time and do take time to have balance and be to yourself because that's when creativity will actually flow through you.
In like the art world, they always talk about inspiration, and that's what an artist gets inspiration and they work on it. This happens in business too. If you're quiet enough, you're going to get an inspiration that will burn a fire inside of you that you'll work all night. Like you will grind.
Yeah, and you can never predict when that fire is going to
No,
be lit or what lights it.
you can't. But it's important to take a break when it's not lit and don't just
Yeah.
keep grinding. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was talking about my corporate job, in a corporate job, I could get it done in 2 hours of the day. And the reality is, you probably only have a couple hours a day where you're really productive. So prepare yourself for that time. Like, be quiet. Like,
Mhm.
really leave open space. Think about here's the problem I have. What is the solution? And when you're quiet enough, sometimes it's right in front of you. And
Yeah,
you
I
know what
think
else?
going on the light the fire metaphor, the term that is related to work and fire is burnout. And
Yes.
burnout is
That's,
real. And like
yes.
I was an investment banker, I've experienced burnout. And you can't pour from a cup that is empty. And your creativity just goes out the window. And all you want to do is just sleep. And then when you do finally get that time, like you can't be creative.
Yeah.
And so you really have to light the fire when it's ready to be lit and don't keep pushing it if it's going to burn you out because you'll smother that flame.
And it's like, whatever your beliefs are, something invisible lights that fire. And it's important to give it space. You know, our brain has a lot of thoughts. The ego mind spends a lot of time protecting us, planning, getting things done. But the creative mind is quiet. And it's almost the place, it's like if you close your eyes, it's the darkness, it's the place of nothing. That's where creation comes from. And that's why I think being a kid who stuttered that was on the farm, I had all kinds of creative ideas as a kid. Back then, I was much more religious. I'm not as much of like, when I talk about spirituality, I'm not as much of a church guy. But back then I was. So I would pray to God. I would be like, God, give me an idea one day. Give me an idea like Thomas Edison or like, but I think there's something good in that about asking for something, you know, God, reveal the greatness that's supposed to be in my life. Not that you're comparing, not that you're competing, but if we all keep seeking after that cool thing that's out there, then you build something like Kajabi because I had no idea that Kajabi would change that many
Yeah.
lives. I,
Yeah.
I did it, I did it selfishly because I thought it was a cool business idea.
Right.
I had no clue. In fact, we launched October of 2010 and thousands of people signed up because we had done so many of those big customers first. And it didn't go well. We had bugs like crazy.
Mhm.
We signed up thousands. We eventually settled around 1,100 customers, which was still phenomenal. We're very profitable at that point. but we had to fix all the bugs. So we hunkered down for the next couple of months. And then around December, we sent out a survey and said, how are you using Kajabi? And people started giving us submissions, and it blew my mind. I thought I was gonna be like, how to do SEO, how to do all these marketing cheesy things. It wasn't. It was beautiful things. It was like how to play the Irish drum, how to do calligraphy, how to pass Navy SEALs like buds or whatever, like everything you can think of, how to become a welder, how to become a blacksmith. Like everybody was seeking that knowledge. And it's funny because they were kind of looking for their side hustle. Like that's what a good Kajabi is
Yeah.
usually teaching you something cool that allows you to have freedom in your life.
Right. Exactly.
And so I think it's important to, and not everybody needs to build a unicorn or build the right thing. You might just be an artist. You might just, like I just met with a friend of mine on Zoom that lives in Wisconsin now, and he built this thing. It's like a piece of wood and it's like a dog chew toy. And he's making over $1 million doing this. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Business doesn't have to be sexy to earn a lot of money. And a lot of times the people who shoot for unicorns are the ones that end up with zero, and the people who just fill a need very simply are the ones who end up with millions.
Well,
And
and I think the world you were in, the VC world, that's all they're looking for is unicorns. And they exist,
of
but
course, they just want to return the fund. It
they
has to
just
have like tons of upside because they know
totally.
9 out of 10 are going to fail. So the one that succeeds needs to return the fund 10 times over.
Yeah. But if you're a startup, you're not thinking about that. Like when we built Kajabi, I found those customers, and the first couple customers, we built their sites by hand. Like I designed them, my co-founder programmed them. There was no Kajabi yet, but it still said powered by Kajabi at the bottom. And then what we did is after we built the perfect site and they loved it and their customers loved it, then we built the
Productized
service
it.
behind it. And I think there's a lot of businesses where you can do that. You duct tape it together. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. The customers don't know that. It's perfect behind the scenes. And then you find product market fit and it
Yeah.
blows up.
We had an AI tool at one point, and we launched it just to figure out if the market liked it without AI, and it was pre-built. And then when we found that people liked it, then we made it AI built and customizable and all that stuff. So there's a lot of that. And I'm in the entrepreneurship world right now. I'm not VC backed and I'm not trying to build a $1 billion company. This
Yeah.
was because of a need in the market
Yeah.
from my experience as an executive. And I'm trying to fill that need. And I do understand that as someone who is lives in the world of money, I can't spend money forever. I do have to make money. So I
Yeah.
do have money making mechanisms built into it and a path, but it's not designed to be $1 billion company. If it evolves into that, all that means is I did a very good job filling the needs of a market. I would love for it to turn into $1 billion company, but I have no aspirations. I don't think that it will improve my life if it turns into $1 billion company. It just means it improved a bunch of other people's lives. And I'm
Yeah.
totally okay with that. But that is
Yeah.
not the goal. There's a lot of stuff that you've been saying that I do want to touch on. So for
Okay.
one thing, it's touching back on sitting by yourself with these thoughts, and you use prayer, some people use manifestation, whatever you call it.
Yep.
If you take time to really set, and this is Think and Grow Rich thesis as well, or the secret,
Totally.
whatever you call it.
Yes.
If you take time to set your mind on a specific thing, it changes how your mind operates. And Tony Robbins likes to give an example, our friend Tony Robbins,
Hmm.
about if he says, all right, you're in a room. I want you to look around the room right now, really quick. Everyone look around, do this in real time. And now look around,
Hmm.
find everything red, find everything red. All right, find everything red. Do you see it? You got it? Save in your mind. Close your eyes. Now
Yep.
tell me everything that you saw that was blue. And you're
Yes.
like, oh, I was looking for red. Okay, if you look for red, you're gonna find red. When you buy a car, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere on the street. When you get a dog, you see
Totally.
that dog everywhere. You never saw it before. If you
Yeah.
say, I want to start a business or I want X, and you repeat it over and over and over again, it's the only thing that you always think about whenever the lights are
Hmm.
off, whenever you go to sleep, the thing that keeps you up at night, the thing that you think about first thing in the morning, you will find that. And so that conversation that happened in the elevator was just two people talking, and you're like, oh, you're involved with this? I'd love to talk to you. Can we connect? Swap emails. Unlocks a door that you never would have unlocked before just because your mind was programmed to think about it. I don't think it's magic. I don't think it's God. I mean, it could be, and many people attribute different things to it. But I do think at the end of the day that if you're looking for certain things, you will find the opportunities and unlock those doors in ways that you never could have seen before unless your eyes were open and looking for those specific things.
Yeah. And I think you're right. We don't really know what it is. I know a lot of people have tried to define it through religion and all these other things, but there's clearly something invisible that controls the space that we live in. And it starts in our mind. Like our mind is the power source of the reality that we live in. You know, like they say, do we live in a simulation? I think about that sometimes. And so I do, like, especially before I go to bed, I'm like, all right, reprogram myself tomorrow. This isn't going to bother you. This, you're going to find the breakthrough for this. And it's crazy, just like when you see that car, like I have a favorite Range Rover, and now I see it all the time. And it's like, you need a solution for that, or you need that thing. Just think, okay, it's going to come to me. You know, I just heard a thing this morning when I was mountain biking about manifestation and how, you know, a lot of people talk about you got to be positive. You got to be positive. That's cool. But a lot of times you might still be negative about the thing. And have you ever seen the example? There's like a guy, he's like business conference. He picks the biggest guy and he goes, all right, come and like push against me. And as soon as he pushes, the other guy pushes. And our
Yeah.
mind will push against us. So you have to be careful. But here's something you can do is you can have certainty of the outcome. You don't know how it will happen, you don't know when it will happen, but you have this hope of, yes, one day it's going to be this. Just like stuttering, I could see myself not stuttering. I didn't do much more beyond that. So it's like if you're going to build a business, if you're going to get out of your job, you got to think, I will find this thing one day. I will make that extra $1,000. I'll make that extra $10,000. And next thing you know, you're going to meet that friend, you know, or the coworker that has this idea. Like, hey, I could help you with that, you know? And there's
Yeah,
something about,
exactly.
I think I watched the video you might have shot after we met and you said something. I don't know if I said it, but you said it. If you want to win the lottery, you got to buy a lottery ticket. And I'm not saying you should
Can't
play the
win the lottery
lottery.
if you don't play.
You
And
got to play the
you
game.
can't get lucky if you just go to a 9 to 5, go home and watch TV. You
That's
can't do
right.
it. You have
Yep.
to put yourself in a position of uncertainty. And if your mind is programmed and you're in a position of uncertainty, that's when luck manifests itself.
That's right. Yeah, it's creating more opportunities to be in the right place at the right time, you know? And if you don't have an idea, get quiet, go for walks, listen to something on YouTube. You know, I use YouTube more in my ear than I do look at it sometimes, you know? And it's like, listen to things that are interesting because you never know by listening to that thing, like from my friend about dogs, where he's like, oh, my dog's always chewing on sticks. And then he found a supplier, and next thing you know, he's got a whole brand around this dog chew toy, you know? Like in my book, you know, I talked about the 4 Ps because I wrote the book You Inc. because I got a chance to interview all of our customers, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I figured out after talking to them, knowledge is kind of in 4 sections if they're going to sell it online, right? And I'll go through the 4 Ps. The first P is profession. You know, what is your job? And that one's the most obvious. And man, I met some cool people. There was a guy that taught you how to do Excel. Like he was so good at Excel. He would do these like spreadsheet calculations and he was just an accountant. And everybody would ask him, how are you doing that? How are you doing that? And pretty soon he created like the excelacademy.com, making high 6 figures. And the other day, dude, I'm watching ESPN late at night and this esports thing comes up and it's a freaking Excel comp, like an Excel esports championship.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy from my book, Kajabi Customer, is the host.
Yeah.
Like he's like the sports commentator.
Yeah.
And it was like, how the hell did he turn his boring accounting job into, you know, he's probably making millions now doing that.
Wow.
And it's so it's like there's things at your job that it's like a no-brainer to you. I think our best talents are hidden to us. Other people always ask us about it. We always get it done quickly. There might be something there. You know, like another one is lady had the Doodle Academy and she would do what I do. Like I'm showing my notes here. Like I just draw all the time. And so she would do that in meetings. She would doodle what they were talking about. And one day her boss was like, what is that? Oh, that's really good. Can we put that in the notes? And next thing you know, that was her job. She was like the creative visualizer for the company. And so she,
Creative visualizer. I love that.
I don't know, and she would teach other people how to create a career out of that. And I think that's awesome where you could find a hack, find a pattern, you know? I think a lot of things we're talking about is good entrepreneurs recognize patterns. And I
Yeah.
started as I was a kid. And I think growing up on a farm, you see the patterns, you see the seasons, you see things planted and then they grow. and then they're harvested. You see the patterns. And in business, you start to see the same patterns. It's like when you look at the ocean, and there's like this cafe that my wife and I go to for sunsets, and you watch the surfers out there and you can see them no waves, and they can almost feel when the waves are going to come, and they get in position. And you need to learn how to do that. And YouTube's a great place. Like we talked about analysis paralysis, but at first you should be listening or
Yeah.
learning a lot of things. And you never know what might open up.
Hmm.
So let's go back to my P's because I think people listening to this might find a side hustle from this. Sometimes it happens. You hear these things, you go, oh, wow, what if I did this? So the next one is passion. This is one that's obvious. It's like, I'm good at playing golf, I'm a surfer, whatever. And there's a lot of people that created businesses from that. Like there was a lady that took pictures of her pets. So she was a really good pet photographer. So she didn't teach how to take good pictures of your pets. She taught people how to build a pet photography business. And she became highly successful. And it's about pattern recognition and how do you package it and market it? Like, how do I turn this into something valuable that people want? And there's so many other ones like golf and like how to fly drones. That was one I used to always make as like an example. And now there's so many like drone flying courses, how to create a drone business and stuff like that. So there you have like your knowledge and who you are is also a huge asset. We talked about authenticity is going to be the currency.
Yep.
Your knowledge and what you've been through is your currency too. That's your asset. That's your 401k, if you will. Like you have a ton of experience. What you're doing is based a lot on your experience. It's going to bring a lot of value to people. And I think it's important to do an analysis of that and start talking about it. I mean, you can have a podcast about anything now. So you never know what that could turn into. And then the last two P's are, I kind of put them together, but it's pain or a problem. A lot of people on Kajabi would teach you how to get out of debt, how to survive a divorce, how to remove back pain. I mean, so many things I never thought of when we built Kajabi. So anything can become a business. And this is old news now. This is 15 years of Gary Vee talking about the same thing. Like years ago when he created the book, Crush It, that was when they first talked about cashing in on your passion. And that wave is kind of already hit. It's still happening, but it's not the same as it was all those years ago. And Gary gave this talk on YouTube, and back then Lost was like a big deal. Everybody watched Lost, and I watched it every night. And he said this thing is like, quit effing watching Lost. When you come home, eat dinner, spend time with your kids, and then go to work. And that's how we built.
Moonlighting.
Yeah, moonlighting, totally. That is the secret because sometimes it's good to have the job you hate because it's paying the bills. It's giving you margin
That's a really good point.
because you can't always burn the boats because then you're stressing and you get grind and burnout way faster. So keep the day job and find that business at night or whenever you can. And you never know what it's going to be. The other thing too, it's so funny, my book has so many P's, is the thing that we've been talking about always has these things. It's always, and this is like elementary, but it's like the first thing is a product. What can I create? What can I build? And for me, it's like I've talked about SEO and selling oranges and all this stuff, right? What I can create a product, and then can I find people that want it? Do they want it? And then the last one is, price. Will they pay for it? Is there profit? If you don't have those three, you do not have a business. And that's part of product market fit, validating product ideas. And you can do this in micro things. I mean, I get business ideas all the time. Like my wife does real estate. And so she was selling a house and it started raining. And she's like, hey, can you go put up all my signs for my open house? And I'm like, I got nothing to do. I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. I actually enjoyed it. It was like fun. And as I'm out there, I'm like, this would be such a good side hustle for like a college kid. Charge a couple $100 and then do the logistics for a realtor to set up all their signs for their open houses. I mean, there's businesses
See a need,
everywhere.
fill a need.
That's right.
And I think you covered three P's. Did you get through pain with the job?
Yeah. So pain and problem, I kind of did them together, but yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
it
you
it
solved the problem with the signs and you thought other people have this problem too. So,
totally. And then pain is interesting because you go through things. Like there was a lady who sang on Broadway and she like fully lost her voice, ended her career. But then she learned how to rehabilitate it, and she is now an expert at voice coaching and rehabilitating. So don't always take every mistake and failure as the end of the world. It might be your next mission in life, you know?
Yeah, totally. And that's actually a really good point. When you think about purpose, another P,
Yes.
um, like there's a lot of books on how you find that. And very oftentimes it comes out of pain that you've experienced in your life. And you
Unfortunately,
just
yes.
either got through it or you don't want anyone else to ever experience that pain. And for me, it was I thought I got my dream job as an investment banker and I realized that it was actually a nightmare.
Yeah.
And you make good money, you have prestige, and there's a very clear path to make way more money, a ton of money, but you have to sacrifice your life. You have to sacrifice your identity. You have to sacrifice your time. It's one thing if you just absolutely want to eat, breathe, and sleep that work. And I very much enjoyed the work, but it was like eating the best steak in the world for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then forcing yourself to have snacks in between and then staying up all night continuing to eat that steak. It was like at that point, I got sick of it. It's like, I don't want any more of this. I want freedom. And this is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to help other people realize is like this job that you think is this beautiful, shiny object. The shiny object is actually a pair of golden handcuffs. And there's a
Totally.
saying that I think it was Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. I think he said this, and I'm sorry if it wasn't him or whoever it was, but he said, a salary is the drug they give you to help you forget your dreams.
Oh, how
And
funny.
it's yeah, and it's
That's
so
good.
true. It's so
Yeah.
true because it and I've experienced this as an employer, which is if someone's really talented and I think that they're capable of starting their own thing, I will sell them on how much they could do here, and then I will increase their salary at a rate just enough to keep them comfortable so that they will not leave because
Yeah.
I know, and give them also just enough work to make sure that they're busy enough that they can't do anything else on the side.
Yeah.
So it was like a very strategic thing. It's very true. But I want other people to be able to escape that. And
Yeah.
I think that you've created an amazing framework with the U Inc. and help people find that. And really, the biggest takeaway that I want people who watch this to have is that you can have freedom. And I know it can be overwhelming, but there's processes that you can go through to either find your purpose or a lot of people, and we talked about this, is kind of this financial hierarchy of needs, which is a lot of people that feel like they're shackled to a job are like, I don't really care about purpose yet. Just
Mm,
let me breathe, get me out of here. I'll do anything. And then once I'm
mm,
out and I've made money, then I'll focus on purpose.
mm.
Fine. How do we get those people out of analysis paralysis and taking action?
Small micro steps, dude. Trying small things. That's how I learned to become an entrepreneur. I just did small things. Um, like little micro experiments. And with AI, man, you can test so much stuff. You can vibe code up an idea. You could build a landing page around the thing you're going to build and test it. You know, you can go find those customers and see if you can do it by hand at first and then build automation and software around it next, you know? I mean, just like the idea for helping my wife's real estate business, I could start that easily by just contacting realtors and be like, I'll do all your logistics. You'll never have to do your signs again, you know? And I think it's really about just doing it and hustling and showing up. I just watched an entrepreneur where he's in Texas. I cannot remember the guy's name. I think it's Chris Corner. He's one of those YouTube guys who talks business, and he like throws a dart at the map of Texas, and it lands like an hour from his house. He lives in Dallas. He shows up in this town, and he just starts asking everybody. His approach was unique because he started asking people, any business ideas, any business ideas. Most people do not have business ideas. Most people are asleep inside the matrix right
Yes.
now, and
Right.
they've taken that drug of that paycheck, you know. But as you watch it, he keeps trying things, and then he accidentally finds a business at the very end, and it was a lot of older people were out in the middle of Texas, and they had all this old stuff. And he was like, this tractor is worth a lot of money. It's like an old rusty tractor, but it's an antique. He's like, I'll sell this
Mm,
for you.
mm,
And it's like, boom, business. You could do it right then and there, and you don't have to even pay for it. You're like,
mhm.
I'll pay you when I sell it. Like,
Yeah.
I think finding those little moonlighting things is the best way to start a business. Building $1 billion unicorn is a bad idea. It's
Yes.
not where you should start. I did
Yes.
not start there. I tried hundreds of things. Like my co-founder and I were friends from 1998 until we built it, you know. And then we tried hundreds of things together. We tried everything you can think of with technology. We built an online tuxedo shop. I built all these little info products before I realized what Kajabi was going to be. Like my friend was fishing down here in Huntington Beach and he caught these little mud sharks. And he's like, these are really durable. I'm going to take them home. And he built a saltwater pond in his front yard. It was beautiful. And he put the sharks in it. And I was like, this is amazing. And right away, it's like, let's make this a business. We'll install these at people's houses. And me,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because I think I'm a lazy entrepreneur because I'm always eliminating work. And so I'm
Best
like,
kind.
I know, totally. So I'm like, what if we make a PDF and a couple of videos on how you did it and we'll sell it back then on ClickBank, we
Total
sold it for like,
information guy.
yeah, totally
It's in your
information.
DNA.
Totally. It's in my DNA. I put it on ClickBank. We made like 600 bucks. We didn't make a lot of money, but it worked. And it was like just trying an idea, recognizing those patterns, learn how to recognize patterns. I think an entrepreneur once I saw somewhere, or I read his book, he said, get a notepad. Like, I have this notepad. I have so many notepads. I've got this guy. I love it. Like, have something like this or even smaller, those little cheap, those little flip pads, put it in your pocket, write down ideas as they come to you with no intention of building them. And you'll exercise that muscle and you'll start to learn
That's
how to
actually a
apply
really good
the
point.
other frameworks of can I build a product? Do people want it? And will someone pay me for it? You do that later. At first, just invent shit in your head. Like that same guy would say, you should try to come up with 10 ideas a day. And one way is to sit quietly and just make shit up. Like a better Starbucks cup, or like I drive in my car and I wear a hat a lot. And what were we gonna say?
When you come up with those ideas, add them to my website on Moonlight.
Totally. You need to make that a feature, dude. You should have like a,
I have that as a feature. You can
I
add a
love
Moonlight.
that.
Yeah. And then they all get kind of categorized and subcategorized. So if you have, for instance, I have, I don't know, 900 different ways to make money on the website right now, but a lot of them are similar. Let's pretend that you have cat YouTuber, dog YouTuber, or snake YouTuber.
Yeah.
Well, they all fall under YouTuber. And so I spent like, I don't know how many hours just bucketing everything. And now you can add variants, as I call them. So, like under
Yeah.
YouTuber, you could be like, oh, YouTuber on how to do this thing. And this is how I made money uniquely. And so that way you can have unlimited ideas without being totally disorganized.
Mm, I love that.
But yes, you can add ideas to my website. Go do it.
No, I totally
10 a
will.
day. That's your quota.
It's all right, 10 a day. It'd be cool. Maybe we'll start getting into product brainstorming. It's my other thing I love to do is, it'd be cool is you could post an idea and you could say, I'm looking for two co-founders. Like I've got this idea for this real estate logistics business.
Mhm.
Anybody want to join me? Because, you're doing this on your own. It's hard to be a solo entrepreneur. It's very
Yeah.
lonely. You get in your own head, but maybe you could have a community component where you could connect with other people. Like I've always wanted to create a cat toy business or whatever.
Mhm. I do have a community component. The question
Love it.
is, do I want to compete with Co-Founders Lab and Y Combinator? Actually, I was telling my buddy yesterday, and I have no problem doing this if it's like really unique ideas and people want to connect. If there's a need for it, I'll fill
Yeah.
the need.
Well,
Um,
that's the other thing. Once you get out there and you've built a product,
exactly.
people will
Yeah.
tell you what to build.
Yeah.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, great ideas, like I always think about it, like nobody would have asked for a smartphone. We just wouldn't have thought of it, you
Yeah,
know?
Steve Jobs is the guy that says, people don't tell me what I need. I tell them what they need.
Well, you don't want to do that like you're a dictator, but you do have to present your idea. People just like the example of the guy that went to Texas, nobody gave him a good business idea. He
Yeah.
found it eventually on accident. And that's only
Yeah.
because he showed up and he bought the lottery tickets and boom, one of them was the right one.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta carve out space. If you got a full-time job, you need to figure a window of time, and it may only be on Saturday afternoons, who knows? Or maybe it's every evening. Because I mean, that's what I did is like I came home, I hung out with my kids until they went to sleep around 8 o'clock at night, and I would work.
Mhm.
And back then, my partner and I would be on like MSN chat. Like we didn't even have the technology. We couldn't text each other yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, we kind of could. I guess we have iPhones? We had little shitty flip phones back then, or like Blackberries or something stupid like that. You just find that window of time and explore your ideas. And with AI, like we were saying, you can get really far. You can build a landing page in 5 minutes
Yeah.
and just have it up.
What I'm attempting to do, foolishly, if you will, is figure out maybe not the formula, but a formula or a relatively quality path for people to identify the business in them and
Yeah.
then match it with something they'll likely succeed at. You know, right
Mhm.
before I spoke with you, I actually spoke with this girl who has a full-time photography business. And photography wasn't the first thing that she tried. Photography was down on the list of things that she tried. She tried being a yoga instructor. She tried doing social media management. She tried a bunch of different things. And I was like, well, why did photography work? Is it a better business model? And she said, no, it's not a better business model. The thing is, I was actually just passionate about it. So
Hmm.
when you get from, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Valley of Despair, Alex Hormozy term.
No, but I know what that is. But remind me what Alex said about this.
Yeah, so he says that success happens with a very predictable pattern, which is you hear a new idea. Oh, I want to be a photographer. This person made it sound so easy. So you have uninformed optimism. And then
Hmm.
you start trying it. You're like, oh, the camera's kind of expensive. There's a lot of settings. Oh, I have to learn a software to edit it and I have to travel. So you get uninformed or you get informed pessimism. But then
Yes.
you decide to keep pushing through. And then you're like, all right, now I can't get any clients. I'm not making any money.
Yes.
Like I have like one or two people, and you get into the valley of despair.
Yep.
What people don't realize is everyone hits the valley of despair. And what most people do is they jump off and they're like, oh, maybe I'll try drop shipping. Uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, valley of despair. Oh, this is going to fail. Jump off. But the people who stick with it and the ones who push through, they get to informed optimism. Oh, I just made a sale. Oh, I just
Yes.
won a client. Oh, I figured out a new setting on this camera that actually works really well and it's resonating with my audience. Oh, someone just bought something on this stock footage website, things that you can't predict. And then it
Yep.
snowballs and it turns into informed optimism
Hmm.
or, success rather.
Hmm. Yeah.
And most people don't push the valley of despair. And so I said, what made you stick with this one? And she's like, I just loved doing it. I just like, I didn't care if I was
Hmm.
making a lot of money. I just really enjoyed it. And the other ones, just, I didn't want to stick with it. I didn't want to push through the valley of despair if it was as painful as it was. And the thing that you found something that is you, is your passion, is your purpose, is one of your four P's, it's aligned with those.
Hmm.
Once you would do it if you don't have to. Once you do it and you
Right.
go through the things that aren't fun, but you don't mind. When you
Yeah.
work late and you don't mind, that's when you know you found that thing. And
Yeah.
I believe that there is kind of a formula to figure out what that thing is for people. It stems from things that you were attracted to in childhood before you were told what you're
Totally.
supposed to do, things
Yep.
that you get lost in where you can do it all night, even if it seems not productive. Things
Hmm.
that are the pain from your past that you're so passionate about making sure no one else experiences. There's these
Hmm.
little hints throughout your life. And if you can boil it down into a formula, then with the beauty of things like AI and prompts and then having structure, you can answer a series of about 6 to 10 questions and they'll
Hmm.
spit out, this is probably what you should do. And then
Hmm.
I also have the proprietary data that says, here are really unique, proven ways that you can actually use this to make money. And that's what I'm building. That
I love
thing
it.
that will match you with what is you so that you will
Hmm.
push through the valley of despair and know what you're getting into and know that the people who are guiding you are people that you can trust as opposed to scammy gurus. So that's kind of my mission and vision is to help people find their mission and vision.
I love it. And you know what's interesting about purpose is purpose doesn't show up as purpose. It shows up as all these other things first. It's like shows up as interest or this is fun or this problem really
Yeah.
bothers me. And
Yeah.
that's the beginning of purpose. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people that have had success like me, like just focus on your purpose or find your purpose.
Yeah.
It's true, but it's more of the you can smell it, you know.
Just
Someone's
do it. Just go get purpose. Just
just
go to
go,
the
yeah,
store
just
and go
find your
get purpose.
purpose, you know, find your why.
Yeah.
And these are all true, but you don't always find it until you're looking back. Like Steve Jobs said that thing, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only do it looking back. And so I would always say just collect a lot of dots. Anything that's interesting to you right now,
Mhm.
try it for a little bit. Try
Well,
it
that's
for
a
one weekend.
really good point is collect a lot of dots.
Hmm.
People all the time have dots appear, but if you do not actively take mental note of, wow, I just really enjoyed doing that. What was it about that thing that I
Yeah,
liked doing? And that's where you talk about sit with your thoughts. Well, you should take a mental note of when's the last time that I was doing something and I was doing it till 3 a.m. because I couldn't stop doing it because I got
exactly.
addicted to it. You'll be like, oh,
Yes.
I'm sure I've done that before. Okay, what was it? No clue.
No,
No one knows. No one knows
no,
what that thing was. All right, what was something really weird that you were attracted to as a kid? I don't remember. And then they call their parents and they're like, "Oh, you were really into birds and playing the violin." It's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I was." So
totally.
yeah,
It's
you gotta start collecting those dots.
it's important to try to return to that childlike thinking. And unfortunately, a lot of us can't because we have pain from childhood. Me stuttering, I had a lot of pain. I ignored my childhood until I had kids, and then I started remembering my childhood. And it's important to try to visually go back there. Growing up on the farm, I was a creative kid. I was outside all the time building things, building forts, tree houses. I remember I had these little cars and they were called stompers and they were these little four-wheel drive trucks. You put a one AA battery in them and they would just go. I loved them when I was like 6, 7 years old. And one time I went in the kitchen and got my mom's biggest spoons I could find to like dig holes. And we had a vineyard and I made this entire city of roads. And I made it so that the little stomper, you could turn it on and it would go through the whole thing and come back. And then I loved building it and creating it, and I loved showing it to like my mom or a friend. And it's crazy how that was my future is I love building things and then sharing them with people and having them experience it. So it's important to go back and be like, I loved sports, I loved building, I loved chess, whatever it was. Or this hurt really bad and I overcame it. That's something my wife does. She does women empowerment coaching. And it's all about my wife is she's overcome so much pain and she's healed that she has a roadmap that worked for her. And by her sharing that, she helps other people. And not everybody has that same thing. They may have loved golf or farming or whatever. It's in there. There's clues. And I think not focusing on passion, I'm sorry, not focusing on purpose is more important than finding those little small passions. Like let that fire light inside of you.
Yeah.
And who knows what you'll build or who you'll meet because you put yourself out there.
Yeah. You're making me think about some patterns I had when I was a kid. I liked being creative, but I like to create things that had functionality, like these things called connects. They're like Legos that
Yes.
move, and I would build. Like I didn't have any action figures, I would build them. I would try to make these anatomically correct things, and I love being creative and building, but as long as it has purpose. I don't like just making pretty things for the sake of making pretty things.
Yeah.
But I do think pretty things are important. But
I
anyway, man,
love
we've been on for 90 minutes now, ad hoc. So
nice.
I'm happy
Good.
to keep going if you're happy to keep going,
I
but
have a little bit of time. We can keep going if you want to see where this goes and we can try to wrap it up soon. But yeah, no, I love talking about this. This is my passion because I
yeah,
lived it and I accidentally built a platform that gave entrepreneurship to so many people. Um,
yeah. So why don't you tell some everyday person they're working a job, they really want to do their own thing, they're tired of working for a boss, they want freedom of location, they want to create passive income, they don't know what to do, they're overwhelmed. What would you tell them?
I think the thing I would tell them is try one thing. Like, what's one thing you could try that's entrepreneurial? Because if we're focusing on moonlighting, it's like, what's one small thing you could start trying, maybe just on the weekends, um, and open your mind to it. Don't overanalyze it. Don't set a huge outcome. Like that's another thing too, is you can't always predict how it's going to work out. That is not important here. This is all about getting reps. In sports, the more reps you have, the better you get.
Yeah,
And it's like trying small things. When you have a day job, though, you've taken that paycheck. So you're on the drug right now and you don't know it. You don't know you're addicted to security and predictability, but
yeah.
there's no such thing as job security anymore. And as things
Mm,
change with AI, a lot of jobs are going to disappear. So practice now. So when it comes time, you're ready. And there's so many small little side hustles you can do. I mean, I've
mhm.
mentioned a ton right now. And I think everybody wants to build AI, everybody wants to build code and stuff, but there's so many small local business opportunities that are right there that are
Yeah.
waiting for a little bit better branding, a little bit better service, like way back when we started this, I was talking about building websites and flipping them. What was I doing? Taking something existing and improving it.
Yes.
Maybe like we just hired a handyman the other day to come fix a door in our shed. And he was saying there's such a demand for that. So
Mm,
if you love building things as a kid, go to one of those handymen and say, "Can I work for you for the summer for free or minimum wage?" Because you might be like, "Well, I'm not skilled enough to do that. I can't do it." And you gave an example of how you got jobs like that, where you just went in there
yeah.
and worked for free. We had a programmer at Kajabi who came to us and he's like, "I want to be a programmer." He's like, "Do you have any experience?" No. He majored in music and he came and he's like, "I'll sit here for free." And he did for weeks. Every day. He had a day job. He got done around 1 o'clock. He worked in the mornings. He came, sat there till the rest of the day. Pretty soon he was coding. Pretty soon he was submitting code. And my
Huh.
co-founder and I are like, we should probably pay this guy. Like,
Yeah.
do that. Something that seems interesting or a business you might want to do, contact those people. Like,
I think one thing that you had said before that kind of loops back to this and something that I've done is the importance of not having ego around doing free work. You
yes,
had reached out and done stuff for free. Is that correct?
yes, lots of things for free. Yes.
I think doing work for free is one of the best ways to make money. Let me explain. Because if you, for instance, have a service business and you do cold outreach emails, how is the hit rate on that?
Yeah, it's not too good.
It's not great.
Yeah, you're
But
like,
if you
whatever, I don't
reach
have
out
time.
and you're like, hey, I made this thing for you, just wanted to get your feedback. And then you're like, shit, I kind of have to give this guy some time a day.
Totally.
He already did some work and it looks really good. I almost feel bad if I don't reply. And so when I was a consultant, my thing was I would ask people for a request list. I'd be like, here's like very small request list, very simple, just revenue by customer, your P&L, a couple other things. And then my goal was in 5 days to tell them five things they didn't know about their own company. If I could do that or even come close to doing that, then they would be like, wow, this guy sees things that I don't see. He's incredibly valuable. And then I would pretty much always win the deal. And this started when I was an investment banker. I hated doing pitches. Pitches were spend a weekend building the most pointless deck ever. And
Yeah.
so I got to a point where I came up with a new strategy and got my MD on board, which was let me try to win the deal by doing analysis and then presenting the analysis. And then we would like instead of saying let us pitch you, it would be let us take a look under the hood at your company and let you know our thoughts. And then I would just do a presentation about here's what I found, way less slides. I would just talk on the call and then say, here's why I think that this is good, this is bad. And then I had a background in operations at the time. Here are changes that you can make to become more valuable and how we could position it for a sale. And no more pitch decks. All done. Like,
Yeah.
and we never even they wouldn't even do a pitch after that. They'd be like, I want to work with these guys. Because some junior
Oh,
level analysts just did some analysis in a few days instead of building a deck. And free work will get you real money. I'm telling you, if you know how to leverage it to get
yep.
leads and impress clients, it'll get you in the door.
Well, and think of all the wasted time on the cold emails and the list and everything versus finding
Yeah.
those top people doing the work. And the thing is, you won't do free work for long. Eventually,
No.
you'll have such a proven track record that they'll come to you. They'll come to
Yeah, get
you.
inbound.
Yep, you'll have inbound all the time because you'll have proof. I mean, that's how I got that first set of Kajabi customers is I
Yeah.
found this guy, did something fun with him. I had no intention of leveraging that connection for the next connection.
Yeah.
Kajabi wasn't even an idea yet at that point. I
Yeah.
just made the connection and then I built the trust. And after that first customer, we had six more customers just like that. And they made millions of dollars before Kajabi existed.
Yeah.
And we made nothing from those customers. We eventually learned how to make affiliate sales because we could sell their product and then promise a free year of Kajabi, which worked incredibly well. We'd make 70 to 80 grand every time they launched, which paid our bills. It was incredible. Yeah, the affiliate game was pretty
Yeah.
strong at that time. But no, that's a great model is what could you do for free this weekend for somebody,
Yeah,
you know?
that's a good idea. I mean, if you're trying to find your thing, and that's another great smoke test too, is if someone doesn't want you doing this work for them for free, there's probably not a market for it.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Like, dude, please don't do that. Like, I'm fine. But if it's like, wow, you would really do that for me? I'm
yeah.
surprised. Then yeah, there's probably a need for that.
When the
Um,
feedback you're going to get from them is huge.
yeah,
They're going to be like, well,
yeah,
what if you
yeah.
just did it this way or put it in a report instead? Oh shit, that's better.
Yeah. I think I mentioned that I am currently doing free work in terms of consulting people who want to leave their job but
Yeah.
don't know how. Theoretically, my product should do this. In order to prove out the product, I am working with a couple individuals as a consultant for them to help them find what is the thing I should be doing and how do I get started. And that's
Yeah.
free work I'm doing for people to try to prove both sides of the market. And on the other side, on the flip side, I'm working with people who are course creators or hosting paid communities and trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to make sure that this delivers value to you when delivering leads? Because essentially, at the end of the day, the business model of my platform is a marketplace. It's
Hmm.
I attract people, I give them information, and I get them to take action on behalf of people who are either tool creators, softwares, uh, course creators, uh, people who have paid communities, things like that. And so I'm really trying to evaluate both sides of the equation here by
It's
doing free
incredible.
work.
It's incredible because you'll have byproducts eventually. You'll be like, wow, what if I just automated this or I made that part of a subscription or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
product is evolving with you as you're exploring what you're building.
Yeah. And circling back a little bit in terms of this whole everyone wants to do everything with AI now or wants to create a business with AI.
Yeah.
I would say be proceed with caution. AI gives and AI takes away. If you
Yeah.
now are enabled to create a business with AI that you could not create before, that means
Hmm.
that anyone can create a business with AI that they could not create before. And so
That's
now
true.
the moat for the value of software has been eliminated. If you can create this with a prompt, anyone can create this with a prompt.
That's right.
So you have to be careful about that. Additionally, let's pretend that you do build something that is unique and valuable. Well, is this something that Google, Alphabet, OpenAI, someone else will be able to eliminate overnight with one feature release? You have to be really, really, really careful. The things that
Yeah.
aren't going away are those local services, like you mentioned, doing
Yeah.
things for people that they cannot do with AI or having something proprietary, unique that is you. It's you Inc. It's not AI can just swap this out Inc. And I think that the information businesses, a lot of them are in trouble, but I don't think
Yeah.
all of them are in trouble. If you have a niche, if you have a really interesting thing about you and you have talent and you have trust and credibility, that's
Yeah.
going to be the new currency. And I think you
Mhm.
mentioned that as well. And so I'm playing my entire business is going to be built on the currency of original information and trust around
Yeah.
those.
I think that's great. You're building trust, authenticity, desire to help, and that'll become your brand. That's another thing too, is how you treat your business at the beginning. It's what evolves into a brand. It's what creates the culture.
Yeah.
It's what people rely on. And sometimes
Yeah.
that has equity for a long time because I haven't been at Kajabi for 7 years. And a lot of
Mhm.
things I instilled still exist because
Yeah.
it's just how I was thinking about it at the
Yeah.
time. So, yeah, I think AI is, there's some people using analogies about it, and people have said this before. It's like a rocket ship, and it's not a rocket ship you launch on its own. You need to learn how to become a pilot of that rocket and really think, let's say I did buy a plumbing business. Well, how could I use AI to improve it? Yeah, that might be something pretty exciting, and like you said, anybody can do it. So it really is a gold rush right now. And a lot of the companies that got successful and still exist were the ones that built services for the gold miners, like
Exactly.
Levi's
Like
jeans.
at Zendrop, I mean, Kajabi is the perfect example. There was a gold rush of information products.
Yeah,
You guys sold the pickaxes.
yeah, that's
Zendrop,
right.
there was a gold rush of people drop shipping.
Yes.
Zendrop sold the pickaxes. And
Yep.
now, if people want to use AI to make money, but they don't know how, Moonlight is the pickaxe.
Totally.
So I'm
Yes.
trying to position myself that way.
Well, and I think in the AI boom, there's still pickaxes. There's still stuff like the whole thing. I think Gary Vee's been talking about this is electricians. There's going to be a huge demand for electricians to build all these data centers. Like, be involved in AI, learn about AI, but don't trust AI to build a business for you. You're
Right.
supposed to build the business. You're supposed to build the service.
Correct.
And again, it could be so small. It could be the smallest thing. The best example I have is that a lady on Kajabi was a judge for this photography contest. She was a great judge at it. And
Mm.
she realized the people that were winning sucked at it. She's like, everybody sucks. And finally, someone reached out to her and said, what could I do to win this competition? And she's like, this is all you do. And she took that knowledge and created an entire academy about how to win this competition. Smallest niche ever. She's making 200,000 a year teaching that.
Wow.
Like the smallest little things can become a business to where you can quit your day job. And I think if you're thinking about moonlighting, analyze what your monthly nut is. How much do I need to survive? Rent, food, car, everything,
I love that you
whatever
said
it
that.
is, 5 grand, 10 grand a month, whatever it is, pick that number and realize 10 grand a month. If I make $2,500 every weekend, I can replace my job. What could I
Yes.
do? And it really is about taking the Lego bricks apart. Like, all right, how do I rebuild this? And then you're like, wow, I could do this little side hustle and make $500 on Saturday and Sunday. That's $1,000. All right, cool. That's a start. Like we had a party in our backyard recently, and my wife found somewhere, probably through social media, guy brought us chairs and tables, and it was his side hustle. He came after work. He came in like his family minivan, just a side hustle. And all he was doing was he's online, he's hustling, delivering. Who knows what that business will turn into?
Yeah, and I think what you said about brand is really important. Um, just a little bit about what I'm trying to do. I'd love your feedback here.
Yes, definitely.
Is I'm trying to position around people who have good jobs and they want freedom in their lives. And this comes from user interviews. Before, I was pursuing people who wanted purpose. And I found the financial hierarchy is people who have nothing want the basics. People who have the basics want comfort. People who have comfort want freedom. And it's not till you have freedom and money and you're just bored that you're like, what is my purpose? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that's, yeah. So I'm looking
That's
at the people who have good jobs, but I don't want to work for a boss. I want to be able to travel. I want to have freedom of my own time, my own schedule, my own location. Those are
yep,
the people that I'm targeting. And because of that, I'm positioning around starting a business on the side that you could scale into your full-time thing as
yep,
opposed to side hustles. When I look
yep.
at Reddit r/slash side hustle and these other places, it's like people trying to make a couple bucks on the side. People, nothing wrong with that, but they're talking about like doing surveys online and doing like these
Yeah,
little micro
that's
tasks. And
trading time for money. You do not want
exactly,
that.
you're not solving the problem.
It's just
And
another
so
job.
I assume that kind of the Tesla model and a lot of these people, they're like, if I build the luxury thing, then you get the everyday people down the road as well.
Hmm.
And so I'm trying to make it so that I can take someone who is a power individual and has a good job and still give them a better life. And that's where the other thing that you said really kind of hit a note, which is, know how much your nut is. Um, I created a freedom calculator that is a tool that's going to be on our website.
I
And it
love it.
says, how much do you really need in order to leave your job?
That's
Really,
right.
how much is it? Just put it in here. And then I have the best life calculator, which is another tab. And it's like, all right, you want to be a billionaire? Why? How much
Yeah.
does your life actually cost?
Yeah.
And how much do you actually have to make? Making 30 grand a month is much more achievable than a lot of people think.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's really hard to find something that you can't buy when you make 30 grand a month. And then when people realize I don't need to make that $1 billion unicorn, not everyone's as talented as Travis over here. You don't need that. You just need something that can pay the bills. And guess what? You could do that by starting to mow lawns and then mowing a lot of
Totally.
lawns and then hiring people to mow lawns for you. And then you just get more clients. You can do that by being a plumber. You can do that by being an electrician. You can do that
Totally.
just about anywhere. There's not probably one business that is so unscalable that you can't hire people below you and train them and get up to 30 grand a month. If you're making 30 grand a month, you can do literally anything and
That's
live in
right.
an amazing house and have a great second house and your best like favorite car, you know?
Yeah.
So I do think it's important for people. Actually, I'm sorry, it's a bit of a rant here, but the
No,
book
that's
Think and
good.
Grow Rich, I think has a fundamental flaw because I think step two is fix a number in your mind. Okay. What number? Is it 100 million? Is it 1 million? What's the number? There's no framework for that. And I thought
Yeah,
this is a massive gap in the thinking, which is the number, frankly, is meaningless if you fix an abstract number in your mind, but don't tie anything to it. And so, what
yeah.
I did when I was trying to calculate my number with Think and Grow Rich is I made a spreadsheet and I was like, all right, I'm gonna look up a car. I'm gonna look up on Zillow. I'm gonna find a house. I'm gonna look up the
So
interest rates for a mortgage. I'm gonna find, all right, if I travel 3 times a year, what are flights? I want to go there. And I just filled it in. And I created a number. And I was like, why doesn't everyone do this? And I think that that's the mentality people need because there needs to be emotion behind it. If you don't
yeah,
have emotion behind a number, it's an abstract and you'll never like you won't have the desire by just saying a number if you don't have what does this number get me? And you'll probably shoot for a way bigger number than you need that you don't even
totally.
believe that you can
Yeah.
get. So I'm trying to create like little tools on my website, the purpose finder, the
Hmm.
freedom calculator, like the starter pack for someone, all these
Yeah,
little things that enable you to figure out what should I be doing? I know my purpose, I know my number. Okay, now I have the list of ways to make money that are actually aligned with those things. And I'm trying to make it so that the analysis process goes away and you don't have to sit under a tree for 5 hours and think about stuff because, hey, I already thought about the framework. Just tell me the answers to these 5 easy questions. Fill out, like, I already got the line items in there. You need a house, you need a car, you like to travel, whatever for fun. Just put a number in there that seems reasonable for you. Great. Here's your answer. Stop thinking, go start.
yes, I love it. When you were saying all those things about numbers, I was thinking about, I don't remember where I heard this, but we we overestimate, wait, we overestimate what we can do in 1 year and we underestimate what we can do in a lifetime.
That's
Like
so true.
if I would have only thought about making, a multi-billion dollar company, that would have been overwhelming.
Mhm.
But instead, I just kept doing things that seemed fun. And there was something so rewarding about getting that check that wasn't the paycheck. Like, I think the first goal for you is to go make $100. Could you make $100 this weekend? Like Gary Vee's whole thing is go buy things at yard sales, like whatever it is, and then flip
Yeah.
them. There's
Yeah.
so many easy things you could do to exercise this muscle and turn off that part of the matrix that you have to trade time for money. It's got to
Yeah.
be a paycheck. So you got to follow the rules. The rules are there to control us, to make sure we do work, to make sure we are part of the workforce. But I mean, AI is going to change everything. Have you seen the new Joe Rogan and Elon podcast from like last week, I think?
No, I haven't.
And Elon's trying to talk about, this not universal basic income, but universal abundant income. He's just saying that if everything went perfectly with AI and the country and everything, there would be an abundance. And it's like, think in abundance, like think big and then make small little micro decisions, micro actions. And once you do that, once you make a little bit of money on the side, it's so fun to me. Like I'm a big sports guy. And
Mhm.
to me, money was just numbers on the scoreboard, you know? Like I had a nut I
Yeah.
had to make, and
That
you
a lot of people I've talked to who are very successful think about money as a game and the
yes,
dollars are points. This
yes,
is this is a common thing I have encountered. And it's not ego, it's they get a lot of money because they enjoy making money and they enjoy making money because they think about it as a game.
yes. It is a game. It's
Yeah.
like there's these old books, like I think the author is Frances Scovel Chin, I think, and she wrote the book The Game of Life. And there's a lot of books written in like the 1900s, right before the Great Depression. There's like a boom and stuff, and like the Roaring Twenties and all that stuff. People wrote about this a lot. About it wasn't just manifesting; it was unlocking from the Matrix because the Matrix controls us so much, and the people that build big shit ignored the Matrix. The
Yeah.
Elons, even what I did in my life. But it was more like, I don't want to call it dumb luck, but I was just naive because I loved the game. I loved scoring the points, and there was nobody losing on the other side. It's not like it's
Yeah.
100-0. It was
It's a
just
win-win.
that number's moving. This is cool. This number's moving. And it just started making me dream more. And then pretty soon I would expand the bigger number in my mind and the possibilities. and the things I could do and the impact I could make in the world. Um, I don't know. It's all about, you're right about the Think and Grow Rich. It's like, um, conceive, believe, achieve is the whole like statement of that book. And the more you can do that in a small way, the better, like what idea can you have? And once you believe it, you're set. Once you like the path
Yeah.
you're on, the belief you have, I don't know what it'll pivot or become, but you will succeed at this. Something will happen that will click. And next thing you know, money's flowing in. And for you, it's totally a scoreboard for you right now. I mean, money coming
Well,
in,
it's
then
I'm
money
losing
coming.
points right now pretty bad. And the stock market's down and I'm paying the bills every day.
Yes.
I'm losing.
That's the hard part. That's why I
Yeah.
think a lot of us have to keep our day job. You got to have something paying the bills because even though there's something about, I don't want to say desperation, but when you have to survive, you also get very creative
Yeah,
and
totally.
you got to put yourself in that position. That's why I think sometimes jobs you get too comfortable. I'm making good money. Yeah, I want to do that, but I'd rather just drink a beer and hang out. I
Yeah.
just, nothing wrong with drinking a beer, but it's like, that's not going to lead you to success. It's not the
Yeah.
only, there's a time and a place for that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think
Comfort kills desire.
it does. Comfort sedates dreams. It,
Yeah.
it like makes them like go to sleep, like, oh, don't bother me. And then you don't feel. You should feel that pain. You should feel that, like the Hermosi thing going through that valley. You should feel those things
Yeah.
because then when it starts getting good, it feels really good.
Yeah.
Like when it's been raining all week and then all of a sudden it's sunny, it feels great.
Yeah. So
So
true.
you got to be awake to get rich. You're not going to get rich by being asleep. You're
Mhm.
getting rich by taking chances, seeing opportunities, meeting people, doing things for free at first. I think that can be counterproductive eventually
Of course.
because you're like doing everything for everybody. That's not what I'm saying here. You're doing stuff for free to create a foundation of what that future is going to become.
All right. Well,
Now, this has been
Travis,
long, but hopefully it's been good.
you recognize his hat?
Yes, of course. Tony Robbins right there.
Yeah.
Nice. I
Well,
have a couple of those myself.
well, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure. And I mean, thank you so much for just giving me your time totally spontaneously
Yeah.
without any planning at all.
Yeah. It
And I
started with a
really, I
text like,
really
hey,
enjoyed this
I need to
conversation
ask
a
you
lot.
something. I'm like, hey, let's record this. And here we are.
I see you got 5 minutes.
It's been a little longer than that.
Is there anything that you want to shamelessly plug out there? I think you have a school community. Anything else you're working on?
Yeah, I'm working on this new thing called the Wazi.ai, and it's like I'm building this AI thing for the knowledge space for the people that were building courses because we're talking about courses and how I have this theory, and we're all doing it. We're going to ChatGPT, we're learning things, we're asking questions. But what about the person that had a Kajabi course and they put all these videos and then nobody ever watched them? And so I'm building this tool that turns knowledge into interactivity and really allows you to apply, like even the most random example, guys teaching about bass fishing. He's taught you all this cool stuff. And then you could use this Wazi tool to take all your content, put it in our system, and then it'll be like, hey, here's 3 AI tools you could build for your customers for their experience. Because I think knowledge it's been on demand for a long time, but I think that's the future is on demand results around knowledge, not watching thousands of hours of content. We're so used to going to ChatGPT, asking a question, getting an answer. And I'm trying to build a tool that helps the knowledge entrepreneurs that I love still be relevant and build something where
Mm.
they can still interact and help entrepreneurs. So it's kind of my main focus. I do have a school community. It's pretty small. So if you want to join that, it's a chance to get access like this one-on-one. We try to meet almost every week. We have a call like this, little accountability. And because building an entrepreneur is lonely, man. It's hard to be on your own. And it's good to
I don't even
talk
have
to
a
people.
co-founder.
Yeah, that's
I got
that's
my dog.
supposedly the future. Your dog's the co-founder.
Yeah,
Nice.
he's my dog. He's my co-founder.